What's up, guys? We are back again with another command block tutorial, and today we have this extreme movement that you guys have maybe already seen if you follow my live streams. I think you also will already have seen it in the video intro. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You can move pretty fast, you're running along the ground, you can of course go up and down terrain, you can run across water, you can jump, you can do flips, you can wall run. There's a ton of cool stuff that you can do with this. And like I said, all of it is custom animated, which I think is awesome. The animations were a lot of work, and I'll talk about that more in a second. But before I get any further into this video, there is a couple of things that I need to talk about. More specifically, 3 people that I need to thank. So the first of these is going to be the person who built this awesome jungle map racetrack, and he has his YouTube channel somewhere over here that I want to showcase. It's somewhere in the middle of the map. Here it is. This is the Jungle Something by It's Kavion AE. So that's his YouTube channel, and of course he says to play with night vision and to have fun. So thank you first of all to Kavion for actually building this map so that I could run around and have something to mess around with this custom running system, basically. The second person I need to thank is Antec Acing, I believe is how you say that person's name, on my Discord. And they are the ones who actually came up with these really cool command block system that is going to allow you to do some really cool custom animations. The last person that I want to thank is QH0L, who I believe I've talked about in other videos before. He is the one who helped me figure out some of the scoreboard stuff so we can actually control what animations are being played just relative to a player's scoreboard. So yeah, huge shout out to all of them for helping me with this stuff. I also want to shout out to the live stream chat who was helping me make a lot of this project on live stream, including watching me try to figure out calculus mid live stream. I've not taken calculus class in several years. So that being said, huge shout out to all those involved. And yeah, let's do a little talk about what's actually going on. Before I show the commands, there's just one thing I want to say. This took so much work. I mean, like I said, I'm doing calculus, I'm trying to figure out these animations, which is something that's even, for me, pretty brand new. And I think it came out really good, but it was a lot of work. It was a bunch of headaches, so pretty please do leave a like. I would really appreciate it. It would help the video get out more, and it helps me do more complicated stuff in the future. I have a bunch of stuff using some of these animations that I could be doing here soon, such as this Thor remaster that hopefully I'm going to edit in some version of it on screen right now. That being said, these are the commands, and we do have a decent amount of them. So what is actually functionally happening? Well, similar to Spider-Man, we are going to be actually traveling around on an invisible skeleton horse and just using animations to make it look like we're running. I think that's kind of the most complicated thing. The other thing is that we're using the fishing rod to, number 1, control if I'm running or not, and number 2, all of the actions are controlled just by a simple click of the fishing rod. So really all you have to do is look around and click. And what happens when you click is going to depend on a couple of things. If you're in the air, you're going to do a flip like this. If you are on a wall, you're going to initiate a wall jump. So you'll actually jump off at an angle if you're clinging to a wall whenever you click it. If you're on the ground, you're just going to do a normal jump, basically. So basically 3 different actions that you can do. And it is important that there is a momentum system. So I'm going to pull that up on the side of the screen. So MOM is short for momentum. So basically, as you're running, you're going to build momentum up to about 90. And that's kind of the max momentum that you can hit just by running. However, the tricks, the flips, all that stuff that you just saw isn't just arbitrary. For instance, jumping is going to give you a little bit of momentum above 90. Flipping is also going to give you momentum. Sort of. You actually have to complete a flip in order to gain the momentum. So if you try to start it when you're right near the ground and you don't finish it, you're not going to get the bonus from it. The other thing is that flipping is going to increase your jump height. It's going to extend your jump a little bit, which can be good or bad, because you can't actually control yourself while you're in air. You can't turn or anything like that. So that's sort of where a bit of the skill gap comes in, is you have to manage your tricks so that you're not going to be turning at the wrong spot. But you guys can see, you can actually build up speed pretty quickly, and it is going to make you able to run a lot faster. But you have to maintain it. That's sort of the whole skill gap. So, I believe that more or less discusses all the things related to the commands. Let's get into the actual tutorial. There's going to be 5 different scoreboards right here. You have anim, which is going to be controlling the animations of the player. Jump, which obviously is going to be controlling the jump system. We have mom, which is short for momentum, which I showed you already. Trick, which is going to be controlling at what point the player is flipping. The system is actually designed to allow for multiple tricks that you can rotate between. I just didn't feel like adding any because I wanted to get this tutorial out. And finally, wall, which is going to be controlling how long the player is on the wall during a wall run. So I can just show you here. You'll notice I start sliding down if I'm on a wall for a while. So I'll show you that again. I'm just going to start slowly sliding down, and the rate at which I slide down is going to increase over time. So you also notice if you just hit a wall straight on, you're not going to wall run. That's on purpose. You actually need to hit a wall at an angle in order to start a wall run. And it's going to be left or right depending on which way you're looking. So I think that's pretty neat. Alright, there's a lot going on here, a lot of different systems all combined. So let's get into it. Those are the scoreboards that you're going to create. This is going to give the player the tag rush if they have the tag speed while holding a fishing rod. So basically, in order to do any of this, you need to give yourself the tag speed. So this is only going to function for people who have the tag speed. Now, while a player with the tag speed is holding a fishing rod, they are going to get the tag rush. While you have the tag rush, that's basically going to mean you're in the middle of running, is what that detects. And this is going to make it basically remove it if you're not holding a fishing rod. Pretty simple. You'll notice that this is a has item with a quantity of 0, which checks that you're not holding it. So, if the player is rush, basically they have the tag rush, they're holding the fishing rod, and they have the tag speed, but there's not a skeleton horse named Rush Seat nearby, we're going to summon a skeleton horse named Rush Seat. We're going to make the player start riding in Rush Seat, and of course we're going to give Rush Seat invisibility. So once again, once you start riding, it's going to make you sit on a horse. Then this is going to basically control the movements. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is basically checking up or down. So you guys already saw in the intro that the speed command is able to go up and down 1 block gaps. So we go up and we go down. We go up and we go down. Pretty simple. So that's what we're going to be doing first, is how do we detect that? Basically what we're doing is we're making the player teleport up 1 block, and then we're going to teleport the player 0.5 blocks forward. So basically if I'm here, I go up a block, and I go half a block forward. Then I'm going to go down a block, but it's true. You'll notice that it's true, meaning that it's only going to work if there's not a block here. So normally it would be like up, half a block, down. But if I go up, half a block, and then I get stopped by this, I'm going to go up 1 block. Then we're actually going to make it go down again. So basically, you go up, and then you try to go down again. What that allows it is so I can go up, then I can go down, then I can go down again. That allows me to go downhill. So you'll also notice that it's going to check unless the block below it is water, and that is basically going to control it so that the player can run on water. You'll notice in this one here that I have wall 0 set. This just makes it so that instead of going downwards on a wall, you just kind of go even. And that's just while you're wall running. So, the next one is going to be pretty consistent. Basically, as the player has the tag mom equals 30, teleport them up. Teleport them 0.25 forward. And then teleport them down. So we're going to be repeating these 3 commands, up, forward, down, for each momentum system. This allows you to go up and down blocks at any speed with no issues. So we're doing the same thing with 60. Go up, go forward, go down. Same thing, go up, whoops, go forward, go down. And basically, you just keep going, and we're doing intervals of 30. So it's the same exact thing each time, just intervals of 30 for the mom score. This just makes it the higher the mom, the higher you actually will move. I showed that same one twice. Not going to explain all of these, but I will show you all of them. Just pause if you need to copy it. But they're all exactly the same except for this mom score right here. So what that basically leads me to is that my max score is about 150. Now we're going to deal with rotation, which is actually pretty simple. At the rush sheet, as long as you're not in the air, it's going to copy the rotation of the nearest player that has the tag rush. Pretty simple. This is going to basically kill the horse if there's no rush player within 30 blocks. And this is going to stop the sound of the skeleton horse dying. Let me show that for a little bit longer. So, yeah, basically that just kills the horse and silences it if there is no rush player nearby. Okay, so next up what we're going to be doing is if the player has a mom score of 0 to 89 and they are not in the air, give them a mom score of +1 on a 0 tick delay. This just means as you're running along the ground, you're going to be gaining speed up to 90. Then basically we're going to add a mom score of 0 to the rush seat. This just makes it so that the horse has the right value. It's only 1 tick delay. So basically it can actually gain or lose momentum. Then if the player has a mom score of 91 or higher, they're going to lose 2 mom score every 3 ticks. This just makes it so that if you get over 90, you're going to start slowly losing until you're back at 90. So in order to get higher speeds, you have to be doing actively maintaining different tricks and flips and that kind of stuff. Now this right here, this is all animations, so I'm not going to get to that yet because we have a little bit more that we have to do for the movement. So next up we have to deal with wall running. So there's a lot of different stuff that happens with wall running, but basically what happens is that as a player approaches a wall, it's going to check, are they facing this way a little bit? If they're sort of facing in this direction, it's going to snap their direction to exactly this, and it's going to give them the wall running score, and then it's going to keep moving them this way. Same thing if the player is approaching this wall, but they're facing a little bit this way, like in this range, they're going to snap immediately straight this direction and go along this wall. And we have to do that for both directions for all 4 types of walls. So it is a bit repetitive. But here's what we have here. We're going to give the tag, anything with the tag rush sheet, a wall score of 0, so that way it's set to normal. Then if it's not 0, it's going to remove 1 over time on a 3 tick delay, so it slowly makes the player fall down. Then what we're doing is, if there is no walls around the player, as in they run off the end of a wall, we're going to very quickly, on a 0 tick delay, remove their wall score. So basically, if you run off the edge of a wall, you're going to instantly stop wall running, is what that does. This is going to make it so that if your wall score is between 1 and 8, you're going to teleport a little bit downwards. And if it is between 1 and 4, you're also going to teleport a little bit downwards. So this just makes it so that the longer you're on the wall, the more you start to kind of go downwards. So I will get to these in just 1 second. So now we get into initializing the wall run. Once again, these are all exactly the same except depending on the different wall and the different facing location. I will show you all of them. I'm not going to explain all of them. Record them how you see them. What this is checking is that if the player is jumping, right, and their wall score is 0, and this means they're facing in a specific direction, and then we're going to check, is there not an air block or a flowing water block to their side? We're going to set their wall score to 10. That means they initialize the wall run. Then with the exact same parameters, with their wall score of 10, we're going to teleport them exactly where they are, but facing a specific direction. This is going to lock them in the right direction to do the wall run. Should mention that this is not teleporting the player, but actually their skeleton horse. And then we're going to set their jump score to 0. This makes the player out of the jump, which also allows them to do a wall jump, should they so choose to. So, the next set of commands is going to be pretty much exactly the same. What we just checked for, more or less, is if the player is facing this way and the wall is on their right. Now we're going to be checking if the player is facing the same direction, but the wall is on their left. It's going to be exactly the same, we're just checking a different spot for the wall. So the only thing that's going to be different is that instead of a -1 here, it's just going to be a +1. Otherwise, the commands will be exactly the same. Okay, so we already checked if the player is facing this direction. Now we're going to flip it and have the player be checking if they're facing this direction. So that's what these RYs and RYMs are doing. I won't explain the exact science, just trust me, I tested this on live stream. It works. So it's exactly the same set of commands, except we're facing the opposite direction. That's why it's 180 instead of 0 here. The only thing that's different is basically the RY and RYM scores. Same as below, except +1 instead of -1. Okay. And now we're going to be doing it for the walls that are facing this direction, basically. Once again, not explaining them because I think I already did. Just pause it and record it. I'm trying to not make this video longer than it already is going to be. I guarantee this is going to be a long video. So I really hope you guys enjoy. So I'm very excited for some of the blood bending I have coming out, or blood magic. I have a Thor remaster that I'm currently working on. I've done some of the commands for it already, but what I've done so far I really like. And it's using a lot of play animation stuff, so yeah. Okay, so that is more or less it for actually wall running. Then we have just 2 different commands for the wall jump, which is pretty simple. Basically, you can already jump while you're wall running, the same way you would jump on the ground. The only thing is that if you jump while you're wall running, and there's a block to your left, you're going to teleport a little bit to the right. And if there's a block to your right, you're going to teleport 30 degrees to your left. That's the only thing it does. Okay, then we have a couple of particles here. These are pretty simple. Basically, if the player is not, they're running along the ground, but they're not on water, they're going to have the drag and destroy block animation, which is the base one that you see here. Sorry, particle. And then if they are running along water, we're going to do the sonic explosion instead because it's blue. So you can see there, it's blue. Okay. Then we also are going to have the follow orbit camera. Basically, while the player is running, we're going to use this camera because it works really well to showcase the animations. And if they don't have the tag rush, we're going to clear their camera. Pretty simple. If I hold the fishing rod, I go into follow. If I lose it, go right back into first person. It also works if I'm already in third person and I start doing this. I'll go right back to third person. The other 2 things are basically if the player has a score of 90 or higher, a mom score, that being their speed, go ahead and give them a camera shake like this. And if it is 120 or higher, we're going to give them a more intense camera shake. Alright, so that is a lot of the... I don't think I went through the jump score, so let me do that real quick. While the player is jumping, and they detect a... or while the player is not jumping, they're on the ground, and they detect a fishing rod, or a fishing hook, we're going to give them a score of jump to 30. Then we are going to kill the fishing hook. Then we are going to give them a mom addition of 15. So you get 15 momentum just for doing a jump. While the player's jump height is 25 or higher, they're going to teleport up 0.5 blocks. While it's 20 or higher, 0.5 blocks. 15 or higher, 0.5. And while it's 10 or higher, 0.5. Remember, the player is always going to be losing a block of height. So this is going to basically make it so that you're gaining, then you start losing. Gaining, start losing. Pretty simple. This is going to remove the player's jump score from them on a 1-tick delay. Until their jump score is 1, it will never get below 1 until they land. This is going to make it so that if they do land, their jump score is set to 0. And this is going to make it so that the rush seat has a score at all, basically. Okay, there's a little bit more of the mechanics, and then we're going to get into the animations. I believe it is just over here. I don't need either of these. We're going to add the trick score to the rush sheet the way that we have been doing the rest of these. Then we're going to give the trick add. What this is doing is basically making it so that if the player has a score of trick equals 0, or sorry, the skeleton horse has a trick score of 0, but they are jumping and it detects a fishing hook, give them the trick score of 1. Then, if the player has a trick score of 1, we're going to set their animation score to 5. That's going to basically be doing the flip animation. Then we're going to do the scoreboard player's jump 4. So that's going to add a little bit to their jump height. We're going to repeat this twice so that it doesn't get over 30, but you can actually add a decent amount to your jump every time you do a flip. You'll see that if I go here. That's a normal jump. This is a flip. You can actually see I'm gaining some height. I'm going to be able to stay in the air a little bit longer. You'll notice that this is right at the start of the trick, at trick equals 1, whereas the momentum that you gain is only at trick equals 14. So you have to complete the flip in order to gain the 20 momentum from it. This is going to add the trick score of 1 if it is 1 through 14. And if the trick score is 15, set it back to 0. So I'll show you guys what that looks like on the sidebar. It's going to be quick though, so you won't be able to see it super well. My trick score is currently 0. It's going to go up to 15 and then reset. Up to 15 and reset. Pretty simple. And this just makes it if I land before I waited too long. If I land before I hit the trick score of 15, I'm not going to get the momentum from it because I don't hit 14. Alright, that is it for the mechanics. Now it is time for the animations. And this is where I'm going to once again say shout out to Antec and QH0L who helped me out with this. But also, this was such a headache. This was so difficult to figure out. I was literally doing calculus on live stream to figure out the flipping commands. So please, 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 if you have made it this far, please leave a like, share this with somebody. Leave a comment telling me that you appreciate the hard work, because it's been a lot. And yeah. Thank you. Alright. So what we're going to be doing first is dealing with Antec's creation. So I have this basically, if you are wanting to do this in multiplayer, I suggest you put this score to about 20. Then if you're doing a race, it's going to look pretty consistent. You might even want to set it to 10. If you're not in multiplayer, you might want to set this to about 2000. Because you'll notice that every so often I will glitch a little bit, and that's because this command right here is running. So you don't actually see the glitch whenever you're running, whenever you're flipping, whenever you're wall running. You can't see the glitch. But if you are in a base animation like this, like normal animation, or if you are actually in air like that animation, you can actually see the glitch happen. So my suggestion to kind of alleviate that is if you want to do a race, have this be happening pretty often. And if you're single player, have it be happening pretty rarely. Because these are going to be the base animations that are going to set up your thing so that we can control them with these animations over here. What are they? They are these. Now you might be looking at that and freaking out. Trust me, when I first saw this, I was too. However, I will have a copy paste in the channel in the video description for all of these play animation commands. I will also have on my Discord, Antec already has all the copy pastes completely available. Technically, this is a slightly outdated system, which is why my first-person hand looks a little weird. There is an updated version on my Discord, but I'm going to be showcasing the one that I have in this video in the video description. So just copy and paste this. Now, there's going to be a series of these. They're all, like I said, just copy and paste them. I'm not going to explain them individually. Basically, what is happening here is that animations have variables in them. At least some of them do. Those that have variables, we can actually adjust and manipulate to control the bones of the player by controlling these animations. Now, Antec went through and got a bunch of these different animations that allow us to control variables and combine them into this long chain that you see in front of you, which is pretty great. Because once we have this system, we can pretty easily make controllable animations. Once again, if you do have to copy, if you can't copy and paste, I will leave them on screen just so you can pause and copy it manually. I really feel bad for you if you're doing it manually, though. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've gone through and set up that system, now we can actually start making custom animations. Almost. There's one more thing that we got to do, and that is make it so we can actually control animations through scoreboards. Oops. I might make a full tutorial on this at some point, but even that's going to be super duper complicated, and I've already been doing complicated tutorials lately, so we'll see if I get around to it. But what we're doing is basically making it so that if a player has a specific scoreboard, they also have a specific variable in Molang query language. So basically, what we're doing here is the anim score is 0, the v.anim score equals 0 here, and we have an animation controller of anim score 0. Then, players an anim score of 1, we give them the anim score 1 here, and animation controller anim score 1. Basically do the same thing, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. We don't need 20, that was something I was using for testing. And I don't think you need -1 either, because that was also something I was using for just testing. So, that basically allows it so we can control, through scoreboards, what animation is appearing. So, now we need to get into the commands and control the scoreboard with these commands right here. So this basically just makes it so that if the player is running, they're not jumping, they're not on a wall run, their anim score is set to 1. Then if they're on a score, if they're wall running and the block is on this side of them, we're going to do anim 2. And this is anim 3 for if the block is on the other side. This just makes it so you're kind of leaning towards whatever wall you're running on. Then, if you're not doing a trick and you're not jumping or wall running, you're just in the air, then your anim score will be 4. And then finally, if you're in the air, if you're not holding the rush thing at all, your anim score is going to be set to 0, which is the base normal animation. You will remember that we have the trick score set over here. Now, for the actual custom animations, these are the ones that I made that were such a headache. I did some of these on live stream. Please, like I said, please just leave a like. This was so difficult to figure out. I want to do more stuff with this, but man, it was not easy. So this is pretty simple. This is also making it, these should all say rush, not rush test. I'll fix that as I go. This sets all the variables to 0. This just completely resets the player back to normal. For the next one, this is going to be the wall running animation. So, what is going on here? Once again, if you don't want to know, you don't have to know. You can just copy and paste this. For those who are a bit curious, what we're doing is I'll give you an example. I will go to v.left leg, or give it the score of 20 plus math max math sine q.lifetime times 350 times pi times 0.5 plus 1 point times 0.01. This basically makes it so that this value is always returning a numerical value based on the sine wave, so it basically goes up and down, back and forth, times -100. So this is what gives the legs the sort of back and forth swiveling motion. Whereas on that was for the left leg. So for the right leg, we did the same, more or less the same thing, except -170 to start, but times 100 instead of times -100. This makes it so these two are basically alternating. Suppose I could have done cosine, but whatever. Okay, so now we're basically doing the same thing, except adjusting some of the values. These values up here are going to make it so the body is leaning. Then I have the left arm is set to 0, and the left arm Z is set to 40. This basically makes it so that the player is having their hand out to the left. I will also mention that I did make a modification of Antec's design for this, because you'll notice that the player is on the ground, kind of. Well, if you'll remember, the player is actually on an invisible skeleton horse, so normally they should be floating. So I did add an extra variable compared to Antec's design, which is also a pain to figure out. And that is what allows me to basically lower the player down so that they look like they're on the ground. So that is v.center.y -1. Okay, so this is the other wall running command. It's basically the exact same, except for flipping sides. Once again, these shouldn't be rush tests. These should just say rush. But I was messing around with animations when I first made this, not thinking I would actually get it to work, and I did. This is pretty simple. This is the one that we have for the just mid-air jump. And this is the most complicated one because this is actually the flip. I said I did originally design multiple tricks to be in the game and decided to just cut them out. I might do a future update where I add multiple tricks that you rotate between, but basically this is how it works. This is the one that I actually do like calculus mid-air because instead of rotating around its own center, it's rotating around the center of the horse. So I had to basically counteract that by adding sine and cosine variables to basically make it so that as the player is in a certain part of their rotation animation, it's counteracted by a different y value and a different x value. And I can't explain it without explaining a lot more in any simpler terms than that. So yeah, not simple. So please, please, please leave a like on this video, share it. This was very, very difficult. I am out of breath. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys made it to the end, let me know in the comments. Do you guys want to see more complicated stuff like this? Do you think it's time that I just take a little break and do some easier stuff? I don't know. We'll see. I really enjoy doing these play animations. It makes it feel more like a mod. You can see my G on my back. I think it makes it feel more like a mod when you're actually able to do this stuff, but it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy for you guys to record. It's not easy for me to figure out. Let me know, do you want to see more hard stuff like this, or should I just incorporate more easy tutorials? Alright, that's it. I don't have anything else to talk about. Goodbye.